Hi everyone, this video is all about Immersive Reader, a tool that has been introduced recently to Microsoft applications, and the idea is that it will make your experience of reading easier than it was before. It allows you to read documents out loud with automated software, really useful for everyone, that for proofreading. It can change the spacing not only between the lines in a document but between the individual letters, and it can do some other interesting things besides. I'm going to show you it both in the desktop version, so that's the version for Word, for the version of Word that you might have downloaded to your computer, and also for the online version of Word which you access through the Office 365 website. So let's start with the desktop version of Immersive Reader. So this is the version in Word for desktops. To access it, first of all, I'm in a Word document, as you can see, and I'm going to go to the View tab, which I'm circling at the top of the screen right now, View tab. Click on that and you will find Immersive Reader towards the left a little bit. We'll click on Immersive Reader and see what happens. And you can see at the moment it probably looks worse rather than better, but we haven't finished yet. But here we are in Immersive Reader, and now what you should be able to see is a range of tools along the top left there, different things that you can do within Immersive Reader. So let's have a go with some of them. One of the really useful ones is proofreading. All of us need the ability to proofread our work effectively. And of course there is a danger that when we proofread, we see what we thought we wrote rather than what we actually wrote. So in an Immersive Reader, you can use the Read Aloud function to hear your essays. Let's see how it works. I'm going to click on Read Aloud.
All of us need the ability to proofread our work effectively, and there is a danger that when we proofread, we see what we wrote rather than what we actually wrote.
That was quite hard to understand, so I'm going to slow that down a little bit. You can see on the right-hand side, I can change the speed of Read Aloud.
As you can see, you can choose different voices and change the speed of delivery.
He does sound kind of cynical and sometimes a little bit drunken when you slow him down. But you can change the speed and find what works for you. But it is quite useful. And I find even in my own experience, I often hear my errors in writing better than I see them. Now, it might also be that you find black writing on a white background a bit difficult to cope with, in which case you can see that there's an option to change the page colour, perhaps to something a little bit more muted. So let's try that. So change it. You can make lots of different choices there. You can choose your own colour, whatever works for you. And you might also find it useful to adjust the text spacing. So if you find, a page like you can see now too crowded, let's see what happens if we click text spacing. And you'll see that what's happened is that not only has the space between the lines adjusted when we've done that, but it's also changed the spacing between individual letters. So it is less crowded than it was before. So that's useful. Another thing that's useful in here potentially is it can break your writing into syllables. So you can see here, for example, we've got a word here that says difficult, and that's broken it down into syllables, which some people might find useful. And finally, if you find it easy to read text in narrower columns, you can adjust the column width using the column width option at the top left. At the moment, actually, it's set to quite narrow, but I can pick very narrow. I could have moderate, and if you prefer, you can have wide. All of those options are there. The other nice thing, I think, about Immersive Reader on the desktop version is I can carry on editing whilst it's in Immersive Reader. So I can actually type in this format. And that's something you actually can't do, it seems to me, or certainly from what I've seen, in the online version, which I'll turn to now. So here we are in the online version of Microsoft Word, and once again we can access the Immersive Reader via the View menu. You can see just below the View tab there is Immersive Reader. Let's click on that and see what happens. And I actually think this is very good. My only complaint is that in the desktop version you can edit whilst in Immersive Reader, and it seems that on the online version you can't do that. But otherwise, the online version seems to be a little bit better than the desktop. You can see at the bottom of the screen we've got a play button. So if I click on that, we'll get a playback of the text.
Version is that whilst the reading interface looks good, you can't edit the document whilst it's switched on.
I can change the speed of that if I wish to.
Which you can in the desktop version. I can see that this could be a little frustrating.
And I think there's a clarity to the way that Read Aloud works, which is a little bit better than the desktop version. So the look of it is pleasing. Other things I like is that if you hover over the two A's there, you will see it says text preferences. So let's see what options that you've got in there. We can change the text size. So maybe we want it really big, and then we can just close that, and it's locked in, looking like that. So we can change the text size. We can, on text preferences, change the spacing between letters and lines. There I've just changed it back to its default setting, but if I take it back up again, you'll see that the letters are further apart than they were, and that kind of reduces that sense of the text being crowded. You can choose different types of font according to your preferences. Here on this bit, you can change the background color. So there's quite a few things you can change about the look of the text. Let's have a look also at what this book symbol on the right hand side does. So here we can change our focus, our line focus if you like. So for some people a page full of text can be a problem, so they would prefer to read line by line. And with this line focus we can do that. If I just close it for a moment, you can see you can work your way down line by line. If you prefer, you could set that to be 3 lines and work 3 lines at a time. So that might be a useful thing. There's also on here a picture dictionary. So if I switch that on and I go to a particular word, put in text, we get a little picture of text. If I go on play, obviously we've got someone doing a stage play, so that could be good. If I go on bottom, well, that's a relief. But there we go. So there's a picture dictionary on there. And another interesting one, it has a translation feature. So you could choose a different language. Let's go Dutch here, why not? And we can put in screen, and it will give me the Dutch word for screen. So quite a lot of features there on the book symbol, which is about reading preferences. And finally, there are some good options on this middle one, the one with a magic wand, which are the grammar options. So let's have a look at those. And one thing you might find useful, it's got the syllables thing that we looked at in the first version, but you'll see also one thing that you can do here is you can indicate which of the words in your text are nouns. You can see they're all highlighted in green now. Obviously you can see from that you can also pick verbs, adjectives, adverbs and so on. So I suppose the frustrating thing about Immersive Reader is that at the moment the desktop version and the online version are really quite different to each other. And of course the ideal would be that both have all the features that you can get. But in the meantime, I would say that there are some pretty useful tools in both the desktop and the online versions, and hopefully you'll find them useful. And my best advice is have a go and see how they work for you.